Restore Thrive, we're back. Thanks for joining us, guys. We're going to give you a quick rundown today about basic bike mechanics. And the reason we do this is because we see a lot of endurance athletes, especially folks who love to ride their bikes. It's summertime, you guys are going to be out a lot, and we want to make sure that you guys stay healthy throughout the season. So there's a couple of just adaptations or errors that we see around cycling on a regular basis that will really wear you out, that are really easy to present if we just have a reference for how to set ourselves up on the bike properly. So we're going to use our Airdyne, and even though it's got moving arms and it looks a little different, the basics are going to be about the same in terms of how we set up. So a lot of people will just hop into the saddle and not really give much thought to how they're kind of sitting or fitting on the bike here. And so one of the first things we look at is when we bottom out this pedal, meaning that that arm, that crank arm that goes into the pedal is at the bottom of that pedal stroke. Do I still have a little bend in my knee? If I have to lock my knee out and extend my toe to stretch all the way, what I'm doing is I'm closing down that joint and putting a lot of stress in the joint. So the first thing we can look at when we sit on the bike is, do we have a little bend in our knee even at the bottom of the pedal stroke? Number two, in terms of setting ourselves up on the bike, if we just hop on the bike, one of the things that we've done is we haven't taken the time to organize our midsection. This is where all your power comes from, right through your trunk. And the only way you're going to produce power in your middle is if you're well organized in your middle. So the way we do this is we'll even out the pedals. So those crank arms sit parallel to the floor. We'll stand up, and that'll give you a chance to go through bracing sequence, which we've talked about before. That's as simple as squeezing your butt and then making sure you take a breath in, and then as you exhale, bringing that rib cage down over your pelvis. So now we have that good relationship between the bottom of your rib cage and your pelvis. This is how we produce that power in our pedal stroke, is by being well organized here. This is going to matter when we start riding, because a lot of us, as we fatigue, start to round our back as we get fatigued. And the problem with this is if I notice that and catch myself and pull myself back into that straight back position or upright like this, the way I've done that is by cheating using the muscles through my hips. So that doesn't look like a problem, but if I've gone from here, rounded, to straight here, when I stand up, I'm actually overextended. And that puts me on a bone-on-bone situation in my low back. That wears out those joints in your low back quickly. So if you start to experience numbness through your hips or down your legs as you're cycling, especially for a long period of time, pay attention to that. If you slump and then try to straighten up, remember, that's not getting you back to neutral. You've got to get out of the saddle to get yourself reorganized in neutral, where we're not putting pressure on the joints of the spine here. The last piece is arm setup here. We want to make sure, whether we've got high handles like this or we're in a lower position, like on a tri-bike or a racing bike, that we have those handles in a position where we don't have to give up good shoulder position. Because again, as soon as my shoulders go, the rest of my spine goes, and we've already talked about how that affects that power output in your pedal stroke. So if we get here on the Airdyne, and we see this a ton in the functional fitness community, where I start really cranking and I drop my head and push my shoulders forward, what have I done? I'm putting a kink in my nervous system here that actually influences, in a bad way, that power output through my arms and through my shoulders. So again, if I start to drop or I start to slump through my upper body or through my shoulders, I've got to get that reset at the top of, or that parallel position in the pedal stroke. If you're on a bike out on the road, what you're going to have to do is hop up on the bike and balance a little bit as you get going, and make sure you're tall and organized before you sit down. And then with your upper body, make sure you're hinging from your hips as you come forward, keeping those shoulders back in good position so that you can create power or stability and not rounding through your upper back. So those are our basic ideas about good setup on the bike there. Give those things a try, guys. Let us know what you think. Leave a comment below, and we'll talk to you again soon.